My thoughts are a tangled mess tonight. It is always like this now. A relentless cycle of what-ifs and what-I-dids. Every single breath I take feels heavy with it, a physical weight pressing down on my chest, making it hard to find a moment of peace. I look at Mark across the living room, engrossed in his show, laughing at something on the screen, completely oblivious. And my heart aches, a sharp, bitter pang that feels undeserved, yet so potent. How can he be so close, and yet so far from the storm raging inside me? How can he not feel the tremor in the air, the fundamental shift that has ripped through the very foundation of our life together? The scent of his favorite candle, once a comfort, now feels like a shroud of normalcy I can no longer wear with honesty. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when our laughter filled these rooms, when our conversations flowed effortlessly into the late hours, when every touch was electric, a promise of forever. We built something beautiful, strong, resilient. Or so I thought. Slowly, imperceptibly, the vibrant colors began to fade, replaced by muted tones of routine and expectation. The spontaneous adventures gave way to predictable weekends. The deep talks were replaced by polite inquiries about our day. We became comfortable, yes, but comfort, I now realize, can be a dangerous thing. It can breed a complacency that suffocates passion, a quiet erosion that leaves you yearning for something you cannot quite name. The silence grew between us, not a comfortable silence of understanding, but a hollow one, filled with unspoken words and unmet needs. I remember the first time I met Alex. It was at a work event, a crowded, noisy affair where I felt particularly invisible. Mark had been busy with a big project, distant and stressed, and I arrived alone, feeling a familiar hollowness in my stomach. Alex was across the room, leaning against a pillar, observing everyone with an amused smile. Our eyes met briefly, an instant connection that felt both unsettling and exhilarating. He had an easy charm, a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. He walked over, offered a simple greeting, and within minutes we were deep in conversation, talking about books, movies, dreams, and disappointments. He listened intently, truly listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak. And when I laughed, he genuinely smiled, a warmth that reached his eyes and made me feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in what felt like forever. His voice, a low, comforting timbre, felt like music compared to the monotonous drone of my own inner dialogue. That night, I went home, feeling a strange lightness, a spark I hadn't felt in ages. I told Mark about the event, mentioning Alex in passing, a new colleague. Mark nodded vaguely, already back on his laptop, lost in his world. A tiny seed of resentment took root in my heart then. He didn't even ask who Alex was, what we talked about. It felt like another brick in the wall growing between us, silent and invisible. The wall was not built with anger, but with indifference, which somehow felt even colder. Over the next few weeks, my interactions with Alex became more frequent. Casual coffee breaks turned into long lunch conversations. Work emails sometimes veered into personal anecdotes. He had a way of cutting through the noise, of understanding the unspoken. He made me feel intelligent, witty, desirable. All the things I felt I had slowly stopped being in my own relationship. The guilt gnawed at me constantly. Every smile, every shared joke with Alex felt like a betrayal. I knew it was dangerous territory. I knew I should pull back, create distance, but I found myself drawn to him like a moth to a flame. His attention was intoxicating, a balm to my aching soul. I would tell myself it was innocent, just friendship, just a harmless connection, but deep down, a voice whispered a different truth, a truth I desperately tried to silence. My conscience, a fragile whisper, struggled against the roaring tide of longing and loneliness. The internal conflict was agonizing. I loved Mark, or at least I thought I did. We had history, shared memories, a life intertwined. The thought of hurting him was unbearable. Yet, the thought of returning to the emotional desert our relationship had become felt equally unbearable. I felt trapped between two impossible choices, two versions of myself pulling in opposite directions. One, the loyal partner, dedicated and true. The other, a woman craving passion, recognition, and a sense of vibrant life. The struggle tore at me, leaving me exhausted and emotionally drained even before the act. One evening, after a particularly difficult day at work, and an even more emotionally distant evening at home with Mark, Alex and I stayed late. Everyone else had left. The office was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of emergency lights. We talked for hours, sharing vulnerabilities, fears, and hopes that I hadn't expressed to anyone, not even Mark, in years. There was a raw honesty between us, an intimacy that transcended the professional. He reached for my hand, gently, softly, and my breath hitched. The touch was electric, not just physically but emotionally. It felt like a circuit completing, a connection I had been starved of. My heart pounded against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of warning and desire. His fingers were warm, his touch reassuring, and in that moment, all reason fled. "You're amazing," he whispered, his eyes searching mine. "Don't ever forget that." In that moment, all my carefully constructed walls crumbled. All the guilt, all the rationalizations, all the fear melted away under the intensity of his gaze and the warmth of his touch. I leaned in, or perhaps he leaned in. I don't remember the exact mechanics. Only the overwhelming sensation of lips meeting, soft and tentative at first, then deepening with a desperate urgency. It was a kiss that promised escape, oblivion, and a momentary reprieve from the suffocating loneliness I had been carrying. One kiss led to another, and another, until there was no turning back, no way to pretend it was just a moment of weakness. The line was crossed, irrevocably, utterly, completely. The world outside that small office ceased to exist, replaced by a consuming fire that offered both warmth and destruction. The physical act itself was a blur, a haze of conflicting emotions. There was a raw, almost primal release, a sense of being alive and desired, but interwoven with that was a sharp, searing guilt, a feeling of profanity, of defiling something sacred. Each touch, each whispered word from Alex was accompanied by a mental image of Mark, his trusting face, his innocent laugh. It felt like tearing a piece of my own soul away. When it was over, a profound silence descended, heavy and suffocating. The fleeting exhilaration evaporated, leaving behind a cold, desolate emptiness. A profound sense of loss settled over me, heavier than any satisfaction I might have briefly felt. I left Alex's place quickly, clumsily, muttering some incoherent excuse, desperate to escape the scene of my crime. The night air was biting, but I barely felt it. My mind was racing, a kaleidoscope of shame, regret, and a terrifying realization of what I had done. The world had shifted on its axis, and I was standing on unstable ground, utterly alone. The streets blurred past me, each streetlight a silent, judging eye. Walking back into our apartment, the familiar warmth and comfort of our home felt alien, accusatory. Mark was asleep, his breathing even and peaceful. I stood over him for a long moment, tears silently streaming down my face, a silent scream trapped in